My daughter's voice cut through the chatter of the county fair like a knife. "We just invited you, so you'd pay for Leela's party." "Mom." I froze, my hands gripping the picnic table, the scent of apple pie and BBQ smoke swirling around me. Jane's words, sharp and careless, landed in front of our neighbors, who turned to stare. At 77, I, Rose Carter, a retired elementary school teacher, had poured my life into my family, paying for Jane's college, Mark's business, Leela's dreams. Now, in the heart of Pennsylvania's autumn fair, my daughter had reduced me to a checkbook, her tone dripping with dismissal. I opened my clutch, fingers brushing the fountain pen my late husband gave me, and felt a fire ignite. I wasn't just hurt, I was done being invisible. The fairground buzzed with laughter, kids chasing balloons, and the clink of mason jars filled with homemade lemonade. I'd spent the morning setting up a booth for Leela's 19th birthday fundraiser, tradition I'd started when she was a child. My knitted scarves and baked goods lined the table, each stitch and crumb a piece of my love. Jane, 50, strode up in her sleek Pittsburgh coat, her husband Mark trailing behind, his eyes fixed on the ground. Lila, my granddaughter, hovered near the cotton candy stand, avoiding me. I'd been thrilled to help plan her party, thinking it was a chance to reconnect, but Jane's words shattered that illusion. "You're good for covering costs, Mom," she'd said earlier, laughing as if it were a joke. Now, she'd said it again, louder, in front of Mrs. Larson, who clutched her purse and whispered to her husband. My chest tightened, but I kept my smile, nodding as if unbothered. I'd driven from my quiet suburban home in Pennsylvania to this fair, an hour from Pittsburgh, expecting a day of family warmth. Instead, I felt like an outsider in my own story. Jane's dismissal wasn't new. She'd been cold for years, brushing off my stories about teaching or the Thanksgiving dinners I'd hosted for her and Lila. But this was public, deliberate. I glanced at the booth, where my scarf knitted with the same pattern I'd taught Jane as a girl sat unsold. A memory flashed. Jane at 10, giggling as we baked pies for the fair, her small hands dusting flour on my apron. Had that girl vanished? I pushed the thought down, focusing on the crowd. They didn't see Rose Carter, the woman who'd raised a family alone after her husband's death. They saw an old lady, useful only for her wallet. I stepped away from the table, pretending to adjust a sign. My fingers trembled as I opened my clutch again, the fountain pen cool against my skin. It was my husband's, a gift from our early years when I dreamed of writing novels. I'd given up that dream to raise Jane, to pay for her education, to keep our family afloat. Now, Jane's words echoed. "So you'd pay?" I scanned the fairground, spotting Beth Lane, my old friend and retired librarian, chatting near the cider stand. She'd always said I was too soft on Jane. Maybe she was right. I pulled out my phone, a simple trick Sam Reed, my tech-savvy neighbor, had taught me. Checking Google Calendar. I'd shared a family calendar with Jane, a digital thread to keep us close. But as I opened it, my stomach dropped. Every event I'd planned, Thanksgiving, Lila's birthday, even my late husband's memorial, was gone. Jane had erased me. I looked up, catching Jane's smirk as she handed Lila a soda. Lila, 19 and radiant, glanced my way but quickly turned back to her mother. Was she in on this? My heart ached, but I refused to crumble. I'd spent decades being the glue of this family, organizing reunions, baking for holidays, teaching Jane to be strong. Yet here I was, sidelined at a fair I'd helped build. Mrs. Larson approached, her eyes soft. "Rose, you okay?" she asked. I nodded, forcing a laugh. "Just tired," I said, but my mind raced. Jane's public jab wasn't just cruel, it was a signal. She wanted me out of the picture, a relic to be tolerated. I slipped my phone back into my clutch, next to the pen. I'd play her game for now, but I wasn't done. I walked to the edge of the fair, where the lake's breeze carried the scent of pine. A memory hit. Leela, age 5, running to me at this same fair, her pigtails bouncing as she hugged my knees. I'd saved for years to buy her a bike that Christmas, skipping my own dreams. Now, Jane's voice rang in my ears, mocking that sacrifice. I opened my email app, another trick from Sam, and saw a notification, a new calendar invite from Jane, but I wasn't included. It was for Leela's party, with a note. "Mom can cover decorations." My jaw clenched. I wasn't just unappreciated, I was being erased. I looked back at the fair, where Jane laughed with neighbors, her charm masking her betrayal. I'd given her everything, but she'd rewritten me as useless. I returned to the booth, my hands steady now. Beth caught my eye, sensing something was wrong. "Rose, what's going on?" she whispered. I leaned in, keeping my voice low. "Jane's trying to push me out," I said. Beth's eyes narrowed. "You need to dig deeper." I nodded, my resolve hardening. I'd taught kids to stand up to bullies. Now it was my turn. I glanced at my clutch, the pen, a quiet reminder of who I was. Jane thought I was just an old woman with money to spare. She was wrong. I'd show her I was more than a checkbook, more than a shadow in her life. I'd make her see me. Beth Lane's sharp gaze tracked Jane across the Pittsburgh diner. Her lips pursed as my daughter laughed too loudly at the counter. I sat in a worn leather booth, my phone buzzing with an Evernote alert, the faint smell of BBQ ribs I'd brought for lunch clinging to my fingers. I'd driven an hour from my suburban Pennsylvania home, hoping for a family meal at Jane's condo to mend the rift from the county fair. At 77, I'd poured my life into my family, paying for Jane's college, Mark's hardware store, Leela's dreams, but Jane's words from the fair still burned. "We just invited you, so you'd pay." I'd come to reconnect, but the diners, clatter forks scraping plates, a jukebox humming felt like a wall between us. I set the ribs on the table, Jane barely glancing up. "Mom, don't clutter the place with that old-fashioned stuff," she said, her voice slicing through the noise. Mark, her husband, shifted in his seat, his eyes glued to his coffee. Leela, my 19-year-old granddaughter, scrolled her phone, earbuds, blocking me out. The diner's neon glow cast shadows on their faces, a stark contrast to the warm Thanksgiving dinners I'd hosted, where I'd taught Jane to sew quilts for the county fair. Now, I was an afterthought. Jane mentioned Lee's birthday party, her tone calculated. "Mom, you'll cover the venue deposit, right? It's what you always do." Mark mumbled agreement, avoiding my gaze. Lila stayed silent. My heart stung, but I nodded, masking the ache with a tight smile. I excused myself to the restroom, needing a moment to breathe. My phone pinged an Evernote alert. Sam Reed, my tech-savvy neighbor, had shown me how to use it for family notes, a digital tether to keep us close. I opened the app, expecting my plans for Leela's party decorations, a cake I'd baked for her since she was 5. Instead, my notes were gone. Thanksgiving, my husband's memorial, even Leela's gift ideas, all erased. Jane had rewritten them, leaving only "Mom pays deposit." My hands shook as I saved a screenshot. This wasn't forgetfulness. It was a deliberate act to make me invisible in their lives. Back at the table, Jane was on her phone, planning the party with the planners, voice on speaker. I noticed her purse, unzipped on a chair. While she laughed with the waitress, I edged closer, my pulse racing. Inside, I found a ticket to a family reunion at my lake house in Erie next week. My name wasn't listed, only a note, "Mom funds. Catering." I snapped a photo, my fingers steady despite the betrayal. A memory flickered, Jane, at 15, helping me stitch a quilt for the fair, her hands clumsy but eager. Had that girl vanished, I slipped back to my seat, my face calm. Jane's voice cut through. "Mom, you're so quiet. Too old for this, huh?" Mark flinched, his guilt palpable. Leela glanced up, her eyes softening for a split second before she looked away. "Just planning my part," I said, but my mind was elsewhere. I followed them to Jane's condo for dessert, the city's skyline glinting through her floor-to-ceiling windows. In the kitchen, I spotted her laptop, left open. A draft email to the party planner glowed on the screen. "Keep Mom out of the details, she's too old to get it." My breath caught. I snapped another photo, my hands moving on instinct. This was proof of Jane's campaign to erase me. I stepped onto the balcony, the cold air sharp against my skin. I called Beth, keeping my voice low. "Jane's wiping me out of their lives," I said, sending her the screenshot and ticket photo. Beth's tone was firm. "She's hiding something big, Rose. You need to push back." I nodded, though she couldn't see. On impulse, I opened my email, drafting a message to Mark from a burner account Sam had set up. "Why isn't Rose invited to the reunion?" I hit send, my heart pounding. Let him sweat. At home, under the harvest moon, I sat at my kitchen table, the uneaten ribs in the fridge. I opened my clutch, the fountain pen glinting, a reminder of the novels I'd never written to raise Jane. I'd sacrificed my dreams, but she was rewriting our history. I checked my Evernote again, finding another deleted note. My plan for Leela's 18th birthday, a quilt I'd made her. Jane had replaced it with her own ideas. My resolve hardened. I wasn't just hurt, I was ready to fight. I walked to my port, the neighbor's blink camera blinking across the street. Sam had offered to install one, maybe it was time. As I stared at the stars, my phone pinged. An email from Leela, marked urgent, with an audio file attached. I played it, and Jane's voice hissed, "Mom's useless now, she's just in the way." My heart raced. Was Leela sending me a warning, or was this Jane's trap? I saved the file, knowing the next step could break us all. Beth Lane's headlights flickered across my suburban Pennsylvania driveway, her car idling as she watched my kitchen window glow. I sat at the table, Leela's email glaring on my phone. Its urgent tag, a silent challenge. I'd driven back from Jane's Pittsburgh condo last night. Her voice, "Mom's useless now," from the audio file Leela sent, still clawing at my thoughts. I poured coffee into a chipped mug, its warmth steadying my hands. I'd spent decades teaching kids to face hard truths, but my daughter was dismantling mine. I opened my laptop, fingers poised, ready to unravel her lies. Beth would arrive soon, her librarian's mind my sharpest tool. The clock's ticks sharpened my focus. I clicked Leela's email, expecting a plea. Her message was curt. "Grandma, I sent this by mistake. Don't hate me." Attached was a PowerPoint, parent workshop. My heart quickened as I opened it. Slide 1, Jane's name, bolded, for a talk at Leela's college. Slide 3, dealing with outdated family values. The words sliced. Some elders cling to traditions that block progress. I scrolled, finding my photo at a Thanksgiving dinner, carving turkey, captioned, "Well-meaning but irrelevant." Jane had branded me LCC who to a crowd of strangers. I saved the file, my jaw clenched. This wasn't private, it was a public execution of my legacy. I paced the linoleum floor, the mug cooling in my hands. Leela's error exposed Jane's campaign. I recalled the teaching award from 1995, pinned proudly on my classroom wall, earned for mentoring kids like Lila. Was she Jane's pawn, or breaking free? I drafted a text to Lila. I saw the speech. "Can we talk?" I saved it, waiting for Beth. I scribbled Jane's slide quotes on a notepad, my teacher's instinct kicking in. Evidence stacked up. Jane's ticket, Evernote deletions. Now this speech, she wasn't just pushing me out. She was rewriting our family's story. Beth stormed in, her scarf trailing. "Show me," she demanded. I opened the PowerPoint, her eyes narrowing at the Thanksgiving photo. "She's twisting your love into a flaw," Beth said. This was posted on the college's online forum. My stomach lurched. Beth's tablet lit up, revealing the presentation. Downloaded 50 times. Comments lauded Jane's modern take. One stung. "My mom's just like that, stuck in the past." I felt stripped bare, my life a cautionary tale. Beth gripped my arm. "We'll use this to break her," she said. Resolve settled like steel. I wasn't the woman stung at the fair, or cautious at Jane's condo. I was strategic, each step measured. Beth urged, checking Leela's email metadata. I found a forwarded chain. Jane to the college dean, stating, "Don't invite my mother, they embarrassed you." I printed it, the paper sharp in my hands. This was a weapon. We moved to my living room, sunlight filtering through lace curtains. Beth sipped coffee, her mind racing. "Reach Leela subtly," she said. "She's your leverage." I drove to Jane's condo that afternoon, the Pittsburgh skyline looming gray. I'd called Leela, leaving a voicemail. "I'm here if you need me, sweetheart." No response. At Jane's building, I slipped a folded note into her mailbox, a printed PowerPoint slide with my Thanksgiving photo and Jane's caption. I wrote, "Leela, your mom's lying." My hands were steady, but my heart thumped. If Lila found it, she'd see Jane's betrayal. I parked nearby, watching the condo's lights, wondering if Jane would notice my move. Back home, I texted Sam Reed, "Install that blink camera tomorrow." Jane's boldness meant she'd strike again. I'd be prepared. The evening dragged, my phone silent. Jane's speech wasn't just a slight, it was a declaration of war. I'd raised her alone, sacrificing my dreams, yet she'd turned my love into a punchline. I wasn't shattered. I was calculating. Beth called, strategizing. If Leela responds, push her to talk. If not, we go public. I agreed, my voice firm. I checked my email, finding a new message from the college forum, from an unknown user. Your daughter's speech hurt others too. Watch this video. The thumbnail showed Jane at a podium, mid-speech. A second message followed. Expose her, but watch your back. My finger hovered over the link, dread spiking. The lake house at Erie gleamed under the late afternoon sun, its weathered dock creaking as I stepped onto the porch. I'd come to check the family retreat, my sanctuary of memories. After that chilling video link from the college forum sat unopened on my phone. I'd spent decades building this place with my husband, every summer filled with laughter and life, small hands splashing in the water. Now, Jane's shadow loomed, her lies cutting deeper with each discovery. I pulled out my phone, opening the Evernote app Sam Reed had taught me to use, determined to find proof of her betrayal. The wind carried the scent of pine, but peace was far from my mind. I unlocked the lake house door, the familiar creak grounding me. Inside, the wooden table held a stack of old planners, my backup for family events before digital apps. I'd synced them to Google Calendar years ago, a bridge to keep Jane and Lila close. But after finding Jane's ticket and her public speech, I suspected more. I opened Evernote, expecting my notes on family gatherings, Thanksgiving menus, Lila's birthday plans. Instead, I found a deleted entry, my meticulous schedule for my husband's memorial, the one I'd planned alone after his death. Jane had erased it, replacing it with a note, "Mom's too sentimental, skip this." My chest tightened, but I saved a screenshot, my fingers steady. This was no oversight, it was a calculated cut. I sat at the table, flipping through a 2010 planner. Its pages listed every detail of that memorial: flowers, guests, Lila's poem. I'd spent weeks ensuring it honored him, yet Jane had dismissed it. A memory flashed. Lila, age 10, reading her poem at the lake, her voice trembling but proud. Had Jane buried that too? I photographed the planner page, adding it to my Evernote file. My plan was taking shape, not just to expose Jane, but to reclaim my place. I texted Beth Lane, my librarian friend, found Jane's deletion in Evernote. Memorial, gone. Need your advice. Her reply was instant. That's her pattern. Check the house for more. I moved to the living room, the lake's shimmer visible through the window. A dusty guest book caught my eye, its pages filled with family signatures from summers past. I flipped to the memorial entry, expecting my notes. Instead, Jane's handwriting stood out. Mom's events drag us down, focus on Lila's future. My breath caught. I tore out the page, folding it into my pocket. This wasn't just erasure. It was a campaign to rewrite our history. I called Sam Reed, my neighbor, my voice firm. Install that blink camera tonight. I need eyes here, he agreed, promising to drive up by dusk. I stepped onto the dock, the lake's breeze cooling my resolve. Jane's actions weren't just personnel, they were strategic, stripping me from Lila's life. I wasn't the broken woman from the fair, the cautious one at Jane's condo, or even the strategist in my kitchen. I was relentless, each move a step toward justice. I opened my phone, checking Google Calendar, not the shared one Jane controlled, but my private backup. There, I found the memorial event, untouched, with a note I'd forgotten. Jane promised to speak. She hadn't. I emailed the calendar entry to Beth, adding, "Jane lied about this too." Her reply came fast. "She's building a narrative, we'll dismantle it." Back inside, I searched the lake house, my teacher's instinct guiding me. Under a loose floorboarder spot my husband used for keepsakes, I found a small notebook. Its pages detailed Jane's plans for the lake house, repurpose for college fund. Mom won't notice. My hands shook as I photographed each page. This was bigger than I'd thought. Jane wasn't just erasing memories, she was eyeing the property. I slipped the notebook into my bag, my mind racing. I needed Lila to see this, but her silence since the email worried me. I left another voicemail. "Lila, check your mailbox. The truth's there." I'd left that note for her at Jane's condowood. She'll find it. Sam arrived as the sun dipped, his toolbox clanking. "Cameras going up," he said, climbing a ladder to the porch. I watched, my resolve ironclad. "Make it hidden," I said. "Jane can't know." He nodded, his hands deft from years as a technician. As he worked, I stepped into the kitchen, finding an old recipe card for my husband's favorite pie, tucked in a drawer. I'd baked it for that memorial, Jane refusing a slice. The memory stung, but I pocketed the card, a reminder of what I'd built. Sam finished, showing me the Blink app on my phone. "You'll see everything now," he said. I drove home under the stars, the notebook heavy in my bag. Jane's lies weren't just words, they were a plan to erase my legacy. I'd sacrificed my dreams for her, yet she'd turned me into a footnote. I wasn't shattered. I was a force, each piece of evidence a weapon. At home, I opened my laptop, uploading the notebook photos to Evernote. Beth called, her voice urgent. Jane's hosting a family meeting tomorrow at the lake house. You're not invited. My pulse quickened. I checked the Blink app already live, showing the empty porch. Then, my phone pinged. A text from Leela. Just 2 words. I'm sorry. Attached was a photo of my note from her mailbox. Now crumpled. Ed Vance's old pickup truck rumbled into my Pennsylvania driveway, its engine coughing as he stepped out, clutching a worn photo album. Leela's cryptic text, I'm sorry, with the crumpled note I'd left still burned in my mind, its meaning unclear after the lake house discoveries. I'd invited Ed, my late husband's closest friend, to share memories over coffee, hoping his stories might reveal more about Jane's motives. The morning air carried the scent of fresh-cut grass, but my focus was razor sharp. I'd spent decades nurturing my family, only to find Jane erasing my legacy. Now, I needed answers, and Ed's album might hold them. I welcomed him into my kitchen, the linoleum cool underfoot. Ed, his hands weathered from years as a carpenter, set the album on the table. Found this in my attic, he said, his voice gruff. Your husband wanted you to have it. I poured coffee, my hands steady, and opened the album. The first page showed Jane's high school graduation, her cap tilted, my smile wide as I pinned a corsage on her dress. I'd organized that day catering, decorations, a speech praising her. My throat tightened, but I turned the page, determined to dig deeper. Jane's betrayal wasn't new, but its roots were. A loose photo slipped out, showing me with neighbors at the graduation party, laughing over lemonade. Tucked behind it was a folded note in Jane's handwriting. Mom's too perfect, everyone loves her more than me. My breath caught. The note, brittle with age, revealed a young Jane's jealousy, raw and unvoiced. I'd never known she felt this way, believing my efforts were for her. I photographed the note with my phone, my resolve hardening. This wasn't just a memory, it was motive, proof. Jane's resentment had festered for decades. I slid the note into my pocket, my teacher's instinct kicking in. Evidence was my weapon. Ed sipped his coffee, his eyes distant. Jane was tough back then, he said. Always wanted to outshine you. I nodded, piecing it together. Jane's public speech, her lake house plans, her erasure of my memorial, they weren't just cruel. They were driven by this old grudge. I flipped through the album, finding more photos of family events I'd planned, Thanksgivings, Leela's birthdays, community picnics. Each showed me, at the center, loved by neighbors, a role Jane now coveted. I found another note, smaller, tucked in a sleeve. I'll make them see me, not her. I snapped another photo, my hand steady. Jane's jealousy wasn't just personal, was a plan to steal my place. I led Ed to my living room, sunlight streaming through lace curtains. Did she ever talk about me? I asked, keeping my voice even. Ed hesitated, then said, she thought you got too much credit, said the town saw you as a saint. His words stung, but they clarified Jane's campaign. I opened my laptop, showing Ed the Evernote file with my lake house findings, Jane's notebook, the guestbook note. She's after more than my reputation, I said. Ed's jaw tightened. Your husband worried she'd turn on you, he admitted. I nodded, but my mind was racing. I needed to protect what was mine. I walked Ed to his truck, the album under my arm. A memory flashed, teaching a class on history, telling kids their stories mattered. Jane was rewriting mine, but I'd fight back. I called Beth Lane, my voice firm. Jane's jealous always has been found notes in an album. Beth's reply was sharp. Use them to turn Leela. She's your key, I agreed. But first, I wanted to test Jane's reaction. One drafted, a letter, anonymous, using my old typewriter. I know you're erasing your mother's legacy. Stop, or it's public. I slipped it into an envelope, planning to mail it to Jane's Pittsburgh address. It was a gamble, but I was done hiding. Back, inside, I sat at my desk, the album open. I found a final photo, me and Jane, at her college move-in day, my arms around her. Behind it, a last note. Mom's shadows to beguile, never escape it. I saved it to my Evernote, my resolve unyielding. Jane's jealousy explained. Her lies, but not her right to destroy me. I texted Sam Reed, check the lake house camera, anything new? His reply came fast. Motion detected last night, checking now. My pulse quickened. Had Jane already been there, plotting her next move? I drove to the local post office, the envelope in my bag. The small town chatter, neighbors waving, kids biking felt distant. I'd built this community, yet Jane was tearing it apart. I mailed the letter, my hands steady, knowing it would shake her. At home, I opened the Blink app, Sam's footage loading. It showed Jane at the lake house porch, alone, tossing a folder into the trash. My heart thumped. What was she hiding? I called Sam. Retrieve that folder. It's evidence, he agreed, promising to check by evening. The day waned. My phone silent from Leela. Jane's notes weren't just clues, they were a map to her motives. I'd sacrificed my dreams for her, yet she saw me as a rival. I wasn't broken. I was unstoppable. Each discovery fueling my fight. Beth texted, Jane's meeting marked tonight, at a bar. Want to listen in? I hesitated, then replied, set it up. As I waited, my phone pinged a new email from an unknown sender. No subject. Attached was a single photo. My anonymous letter to Jane, now torn in half, with a handwritten scrawl. You can't stop me. My breath caught. Sam Reed's flashlight swept across the lake house porch, the Blink camera's red light blinking as he retrieved the folder Jane had tossed. Her torn anonymous letter, you can't stop me, still lingered in my mind, a taunt that fueled my drive. I'd asked Sam to meet me at a quiet, eerie park, away from prying eyes, to review the footage. The park's oak trees swayed in the evening breeze, their shadows dancing on the picnic table where I waited, my phone ready to stream the Blink app. I'd built a life on trust, but Jane's betrayal had turned me into a strategist, and every move now was a step toward exposing her. Sam arrived, his toolbox clanking, the folder in hand. Got it, he said, sliding it across the table. I opened it, revealing a single-sheet draft of Jane's email to a realtor, discussing the lake house sale. Mom won't care, she's out of touch. My pulse quickened. I snapped a photo, my hands steady. This wasn't just erasure, it was theft. I connected my phone to the Blink app, pulling up the footage Sam had flagged. The grainy video showed Jane at the lake house, deliberately knocking a ceramic vase, my husband's favorite, off the porch table. Leela stood nearby, her face crumpling as Jane said, Grandma's so careless. My breath caught. Jane had staged it to frame me. I leaned back, the park's quiet hum grounding me. She's turning Leela against me, I said. Sam nodded, his voice low. That vase was no accident. Check the timestamp Leela was meant to see. I replayed the footage, noting Leela's hesitation, her glance toward Jane. Was she doubting her mother? I saved the video to my Evernote, my resolve sharpening. I wasn't the wounded woman from the fair, the cautious one at Jane's condo, or even the relentless planner at the lake house. I was righteous, fueled by a need to protect my granddaughter from Jane's lies. We moved to a bench near the park's pond, its water glinting under streetlights. I opened the folder again, finding a sticky note in Jane's handwriting. Leela needs to let go of Grandma's old ways. I photographed it, my fingers precise. This was proof Jane was manipulating Leela's perception. I recalled a school fundraiser I'd led, organizing a bake sale to save our library, the community cheering my name. Jane had been there, proud. Now, she was dismantling that legacy. I texted Beth Lane. Jane framed me for breaking the vase. Video proof. Ideas. Beth's reply was swift. Show Lila the footage. She's cracking. I nodded, my mind racing. I needed to reach Leela without alerting Jane. I opened my phone, recording a voice memo. Leela, it's Grandma. I know about the vase check, my note in your mailbox. I sent it via a secure app Sam had installed, ensuring Jane couldn't intercept. Sam watched, his eyes sharp. You're playing a dangerous game, he said. Jane's ruthless. I met his gaze. So am I. I wasn't just gathering evidence. I was building a case to free Leela from Jane's grip. I walked Sam to his truck, the park's gravel crunching underfoot. The folder felt heavy in my bag, a tangible piece of Jane's scheme. I drove to a nearby coffee shop, its neon sign buzzing, to plan my next move. Inside, I sat in a corner booth, the folder open. The email draft mentioned a meeting with the realtor tomorrow. I couldn't confront Jane directly, not yet. Instead, I drafted a flyer on my laptop, anonymous, stating, Is someone selling your family's legacy? Ask about the lake house. I printed 10 copies at the shop's printer, my hands steady. I'd post them around Jane's neighborhood, letting her neighbors stir the pot. Back home, I checked the Blink app again. New footage loaded. Jane at the lake house, sweeping vase shards, glancing at the camera. My heart thumped. Had she spotted it? I called Sam. She might know about the camera. Double check it. He promised to investigate. I paced my kitchen, the coffee shop's flyer stack on the counter. Jane's lies weren't just personal, they were a calculated attack on my family's history. I'd raised her, sacrificed my dreams, yet she framed me as careless to Lila. I wasn't broken. I was a force. Each piece of evidence a brick in my defense. Beth called, her voice urgent. I found a neighbor's post on Nextdoor. Jane's been asking about lake house zoning laws. I froze. Jane was moving fast. I texted Lila again. Check the footage I sent. Your mom's not who you think. I didn't expect a reply, but I needed her to doubt Jane. As I stapled flyers to telephone poles near Jane's condo, my phone buzzed a voicemail from an unknown number. I played it, expecting Lila. Instead, a stranger's voice hissed, "Stop digging, or you'll lose more than the lake house." My breath caught, the flyer slipping from my hand. Mark Holt's silhouette loomed in the dim light of a Pittsburgh bar, his shoulders hunched as he sipped a beer alone. The stranger's threatening voicemail, "Stop digging, or you'll lose more than the lake house," echoed in my mind, but I'd come too far to back down. I'd slipped into the bar's back booth, my scarf pulled tight, to confront Mark. After Beth tipped me off about his meeting with Jane, the jukebox hummed a country tune, the air thick with cigarette smoke. I'd spent decades building a family, only to have Jane unravel it. Now, I needed Mark's truth to tighten the noose. I signaled the bartender, ordering a soda to blend in. My phone buzzed Beth's text, "Mark's nervous. Push him." I nodded to myself, my resolve cold as steel. I wasn't the wounded woman from the fair, the cautious one at Jane's condo, or even the righteous force at the park. I was surgical, each move precise to dismantle Jane's lies. I opened my Evernote, reviewing the lake house footage and Jane's realtor email. Then, I spotted Mark glancing at his phone, his face pale. I approached, sliding into his booth. "Mark, we need to talk," I said, my voice low. He flinched, nearly spilling his beer. "Rose, you shouldn't be here," he muttered, eyes darting. "Jane's coming soon." I leaned in, unflinching. "Why didn't you invite me to the party or the lake house reunion?" Mark's jaw tightened, guilt flickering. "Jane said it was to protect Lila. She said you'd overwhelm her." I scoffed, pulling out my phone to show the Blink footage of Jane smashing the vase. "Protecting Lila or framing me?" I asked. Mark froze, his eyes locked on the screen. "She didn't tell me," he whispered. I pressed harder, my voice steady. "What else is she hiding?" Mark hesitated, then leaned closer. "She's been recording you using the Amazon Echo at the lake house, twisting your words to make you sound neglectful." My chest tightened, but I kept my face calm. Jane had turned my own voice against me. "Show me," I said. Mark fumbled with his phone, pulling up an audio file. It was my voice, distorted, saying, "Lila's better off without me." The original was from a call where I'd said, "Lila's better off without me worrying her." Jane had edited it. I recorded the file with my phone, my hands steady. This was dynamite. We moved to a quieter corner, the bar's neon lights flickering. I recalled organizing a 4th of July picnic, neighbors praising my apple pie, Mark smiling proudly. Now, he was Jane's pawn. "She forced me to go along," Mark said, his voice breaking. "Said it was for Lila's future." I saved the audio to Evernote, my mind racing. Jane wasn't just erasing me, she was weaponizing my words to alienate. "Lila," I texted Beth, Mark confessed. "Jane's using echo recordings, sending proof." Beth's reply was instant. "That's enough to turn Lila. Meet me tomorrow." I left the bar, the night air sharp against my skin. Mark's confession wasn't just a crack in Jane's armor, was a chasm. I drove to a nearby library, its fluorescent lights harsh, to plan my next move. There, I uploaded the audio to a secure cloud drive Sam had set up. I needed Lila to hear this, but not through Jane's filter. I crafted a handwritten note. "Lila, listen to this audio. Your mom's lying." I slipped it into an envelope, addressing it to Lila's dorm, and mailed it from the library's Dropbox. My heart thumped, but I was in control. Back home, I sat at my kitchen table, the envelope's weight lingering in my mind. Jane's recordings weren't just deceit, they were a violation, twisting my love into neglect. I wasn't broken. I was a blade, cutting through her lies. I checked the Blink app, finding new footage. Jane at the lake house, speaking to a man in a suit, likely the realtor. I saved it, texting Sam, "Identify that man. He's key." Sam replied, "On it. Be careful." I nodded, though he couldn't see. Jane was escalating, and I had to match her. I called Tina Moss, the lawyer Beth recommended, leaving a voicemail. "Jane's manipulating recordings. I have proof. Can you help?" Tina's expertise could turn this into a legal weapon. As I hung up, I walked to my porch, the neighborhood quiet. A memory flashed, teaching Leela to ride a bike here, her laughter echoing. Jane had watched, proud. Now, she was stealing that bond. I wasn't just fighting for me, I was fighting for Leela. Truth. I stapled the flyer to a nearby bulletin board, echoing the ones near Jane's condo. "Who's selling your family's legacy?" Let Jane sweat. The night deepened. My phone silent from Lila. Mark's confession and the echo recording were my strongest weapons yet, but Jane's reach was long. I opened my laptop, backing up all evidence-based footage, realtor email, Jane's notes. Now this audio. Beth texted, "Jane's meeting the realtor tomorrow. Want to crash it?" I replied, "Plan it." As I prepared for bed, my phone buzzed a text from an unknown number. "Your evidence won't save you. Drop it, or Lila pays." My breath caught, the screen glowing in the dark. Beth Lane's voice crackled through my phone, urgent, as she whispered from her car outside Jane's Pittsburgh condo. The anonymous text, "Your evidence won't save you. Drop it, or Lila pays," had kept me awake, its threat a shadow over my plan. I stood in my suburban Pennsylvania basement, the hum of my old desktop computer filling the damp air. I'd come to check my Evernote backups, suspecting Jane's reach extended beyond recordings. I'd spent decades weaving my family's story, only to find Jane unraveling it. Now, I needed proof she'd crossed a new line. And this machine held my digital past. I booted the computer, its screen flickering to life. My Evernote app opened, revealing notes I'd kept for years, Leela's school plays, family recipes, my husband's memorial plans, but a folder labeled Family Moments caught my eye, its timestamp altered. I clicked, finding entries I'd never written. "Leela's better off without Grandma's meddling," dated last week. My pulse surged. Jane had hacked my account, rewriting my words to paint me as distant. I screenshot the entries, my hand steady. This wasn't just manipulation, it was identity theft. A strike at my core. I paced the basement, the concrete floor cold underfoot. Jane's hacked notes weren't just lies, they were crafted to turn Lila against me. I recalled a PTA meeting I'd chaired, rallying parents to save our school's art program, Lila, beaming at my side. Now, Jane was erasing that bond. I connected an external drive, backing up the tampered notes. I texted Beth, "Jane hacked my Evernote. Fake notes about Leela. Sending proof." Beth's reply was instant. "That's a felony. Get Tina on this." I nodded, my resolve unyielding. I wasn't the wounded woman from the fair, the cautious one at Jane's condo, or even the surgical planner in the bar. I was a fortress, impenetrable, ready to bury Jane's lies. I moved to my living room, the morning sun filtering through lace curtains. I called Tina Moss, my lawyer, her voice calm but firm. "Send me the screenshots," she said. "Hawkins, seriously, can use this." I emailed the evidence, my fingers precise. Jane's actions weren't just personal, they were criminal. A legal weapon I'd wield. I opened my laptop, checking the Blink app for new lake house footage. It showed Jane and the realtor, papers in hand, but no clear audio. I saved it, texting Sam Reed, "Need audio enhancement. Can you help?" Sam replied, "Give me a day." I drove to a community center, its bulletin board plastered with local ads. I'd planned a neighborhood BBQ here tomorrow, a chance to expose Jane publicly. I posted an invitation. "Join us for Truth and Rib Secrets Revealed." My heart thumped, but I was in control. Back home, I dug through my basement files, finding an old USB drive labeled Family Archives. I plugged it in, discovering untouched Evernote backups from years ago, notes about Leela's first bike ride, Jane's proud smile. Jane hadn't touched these. I uploaded them to a secure cloud, my teacher's instinct guiding me. Evidence was my shield. Beth arrived, her scarf trailing. "Jane's rattled," she said, sitting at my kitchen table. "Your flyers spooked her. She's canceling the realtor meeting." I showed her the hacked notes, her eyes narrowing. "She's desperate," Beth said. "Strike now." I nodded, crafting a plan. I recorded a video on my phone, addressing Leila, "Your mom's changing my words to hurt us. Check the USB I sent." I mailed the USB to Lila's dorm, using a tracked package. Jane couldn't intercept this. Beth watched, her voice firm. "You're winning." But she hit back. I walked Beth to her car, the neighborhood waking, biking, dogs barking. A memory flashed, Leela's school play, me sewing her costume late at night, Jane thanking me. Now, she was rewriting our history. I wasn't just fighting for me, I was fighting for Lila's truth. Back inside, I checked my email, finding a response from Tina. "Hacking's actionable. Meet me tomorrow to file a claim." I replied, confirming Jane's lies were crumbling, but her threat loomed. I stapled more BBQ flyers around town, each one a jab at her facade. The day passed. My phone silent from Leila. Jane's hacked notes weren't just a betrayal, they were a declaration of war. I'd sacrificed my dreams for her, yet she'd turned my words into weapons. I wasn't shattered. I was a juggernaut, each piece of evidence a blow. I opened the Blink app again, finding new footage. Jane, at the lake house, alone, burning papers, in a fire pit. My breath caught. What was she destroying? I called Sam. "Check the fire pit. We need those ashes." He agreed, promising to investigate. As dusk fell, I sat at my desk, the USB's weight lingering in my mind. Tina texted, "Jane's been asking about legal protections for the lake house. She knows you're close." I replied, "File the claim fast." I wasn't just exposing Janai, I was dismantling her empire. My phone buzzed a notification from Evernote, alerting me to a new login attempt from an unknown device. My heart thumped. I locked my account, but the damage was done. A new note appeared, titled, "Leela's Future," reading, "Grandma's lies end here." Attached was a forged letter, my signature faked, disowning Leila. My breath caught, the screen glaring. Tina. Moss's heels clicked on the courthouse steps in Pittsburgh, her briefcase swinging as she waved me over. The forged Evernote letter, Jane's attempt to make Leila believe I'd disowned her, still burned in my thoughts. Its fake signature, a final stab. I'd come to see Jane face justice. My evidence stacked like bricks, hacked notes, Blink footage, Mark's confession. The morning air was crisp, the city's skyline stark against the sky. I'd spent decades building a family, only to have Jane dismantle it. Now, in this courtroom, I'd end her lies, but the cost was heavy. Inside, the courtroom buzzed. Absence, a silent ache. Tina handed me a file, her voice steady. "Jane forged a power of attorney for the lake house," she said. "It's fraud." I scanned the document. My hand steady, Jane's signature mimicked my husband's, claiming the property is hers. I nodded, my resolve ironclad. I wasn't the wounded woman from the fair, the cautious one at Jane's condo, or even the fortress in my basement. I was resolute, a teacher grading the final exam of Jane's deceit. I passed Tina the USB with my untouched archives, proof of my family's truth. The judge called Jane to the stand. She stood, polished in a navy suit, her eyes avoiding mine. Tina presented the forged document, then played the hacked Evernote notes metadata, showing Jane's login. Gasps rippled through the room. Jane's voice cracked as she read a prepared apology. "I'm sorry for any distress. It was hollow, a performance for the gallery." Tina pressed. "Why forge your mother's signature?" Jane stammered. "It was a mistake." I leaned forward, my breath even. Her lies were crumbling, exposed to neighbors who'd once called me friend. Leila entered, her face pale, clutching a sketchbook. My heart thumped. She'd received my USB. She took the stand, her voice soft but clear. "Mom changed Grandma's notes to make me hate her," she said, holding up a drawing, me teaching her to paint. "Dated years ago. Grandma loved me. Mom lied." The room fell silent, Jane's face ashen. Lila looked at me, her eyes wet. "I'm sorry, Grandma. I need to live for me now." She left the stand, dropping the sketchbook in my lap. I clutched it, my resolve unshaken, but my chest tight. Justice was near, but family was slipping away. Tina called me next. I stood, my voice firm, recounting Jane's campaign, the vase, the recordings, the hacked notes, now this forgery. The judge's pen scratched as I spoke, neighbors whispering. I handed over the sketchbook. It's drawing a testament to my love. Jane's lawyer objected, but the judge allowed it. I sat, my hand steady, knowing I'd laid bare her schemes. A memory flashed, baking cookies with Leela, her laughter filling the kitchen. Jane had watched, smiling. Now, she'd stolen that warmth, but I'd reclaimed my truth. Outside, Beth met me, her scarf fluttering. You did it, she said, gripping my arm. Jane's losing the lake house. I nodded, but Leela's words echoed. I need to live for me. I texted Sam Reed. Court's done. Check the lake house. Jane might try something. Sam replied. On it. I drove home, the sketchbook on the passenger seat. At my kitchen table, I opened it, finding a letter tucked inside. In my husband's handwriting. Rose, you gave up your novel for Jane. I'll always owe you. My breath caught. He'd known my sacrifice. Why hadn't Jane? I walked to my porch, the neighborhood quiet. Jane's fraud wasn't just thefted, was a betrayal of my life's work. I wasn't broken, I was whole, my truth restored. Tina called, Jane's banned from the property. You won. I thanked her, then checked my email. A new message from Leela appeared. I'm moving away, Grandma. I love you, but I can't stay. Attached was a photo of her old painting, my hand guiding hers. My heart thumped, but I saved it to my cloud. Then, another email arrived, anonymous. You won the battle, but the war's not over. A chill ran through me. Was Jane planning one final move, or was a new enemy watching? I sit at my kitchen table now, the sketchbook open, Lila's drawing, a quiet reminder of what was. This journey began with Jane's dismissal at a birthday party, her words cutting deep. We just invited you, so you'd pay. I was fragile then, clinging to family ties, but each discovery, her lies, her hacked notes, her forged documents, forged me anew. I dug through calendars, cameras, and memories, not for revenge, but for truth. I lost Jane, and Lila's chosen her own path, but I've reclaimed my worth. The lesson isn't about forgiveness or love, it's that family can betray you, and you must fight for your place, not with tears, but with evidence and allies. To anyone facing betrayal in their home, gather your proof, stand tall, and let no one rewrite your story. You're stronger than their lies. If this story moved you, subscribe to our channel for the next series. Your support keeps these truths alive.